Hey everybody, let's talk about gold. People have been paying more attention than usual to gold lately because it's been going up. It's at 6.5 year highs in the US dollar and all time highs in several other major foreign currencies. It has a 6,000 year history of use as a unit of exchange due to its characteristics that make it very desirable to be used as a unit of exchange. So I'm looking at the story right now out of India. It says it's titled Indian Gold Loan Volume Explodes Amid Banking Sector Credit Crisis. All right. Well, what is a gold loan? Let's look into this, right? Apparently, India is having a problem with credit. Credit's getting pretty tight. It says in June, a primary mortgage lender delayed bond interest payments, and credit markets are freezing across the country. That means it's really hard to get loans. All right, rapid rise in borrowing costs and non-bank financial companies are tightening their lending practices, right? This is basically like mortgage companies and loan sharks and things like that. Anybody that's not a bank but it's in the loan business, okay? And it says Indian consumers are desperate for loans and they're now willing to pledge or even sell their gold for lines of credit. So, what does this mean? When you want a line of credit, when you want a loan, and you don't have a very good credit score, or you're kind of poor, a lot of times they'll ask for collateral. For example, they'll want to put a lien on your property, or they'll want some expensive thing that you have. They give an example of one farmer who was refused a farm loan from a major state-run lender, so he gave his wife's gold jewelry collection as collateral, so that then they would then loan him the money to manage his cotton farm, right? So that's interesting. It tells you something about gold, because if you're a non-bank financial company, a non-bank financial entity, and you're in the loan business, and you're accepting gold as a collateral, that means you must not think there's very much downside risk to gold, because whatever you take as collateral has to hold its value. If you take something as collateral that plummets in value, and then that person defaults on the loan, the collateral you have is not worth much. So if gold, like for example in the U.S. right now, or in the West, gold is at $1,527 per troy ounce. If you take an ounce of gold as collateral for a $1,500 loan, but then gold goes back down to $1,300 and the person defaults on the loan, you've just lost a good amount of money. Financial institutions wouldn't be making that kind of bet if they weren't really certain that gold was going to do well. Is gold doing well? We already know it's doing well in the West. And I mentioned while it was at a 6.5 year high in US dollars, it's at an all-time high in several other currencies, which is really important to note because most people are just looking at the gold price in US dollars and like, oh, it's pretty high, but it's not as high as it was at the very top of the bubble. It actually is in most other currencies. And the other important thing to note is gold price isn't the same all over the world. It says here, domestic gold prices have jumped by 25% this calendar year, hitting a record high of 500, or in rupees, 38,765 rupees, but that's $543 per 10 grams. So that works out to $1,688 per troy ounce in India, and it's only 1527. So it's $1,688 per troy ounce in India, and it's 1527 in the West. So the gold price in India is actually significantly higher than it is in the West. That is also very good for gold because you're seeing in countries that have credit crisis and capital outflow problems, economic problems, gold is worth more because more people are trying to buy gold. But what does this mean for the Indian consumer and the farmers who are needing these loans? It's actually bad because, in the long game, basically, governments and these companies got people addicted to loans. A lot of farmers are reliant on loans to operate. So people are addicted to credit. So then you just squeeze them and squeeze them. When the credit market gets tight, people are squeezed, and because they really need this credit, they'll do whatever it takes. And Indian households are the biggest private gold owners in the whole world as a group, right? No other country has its peasants owning such massive amounts of gold. And now they're giving it up as collateral for loans, which they desperately need because they've been worked into kind of an addiction cycle where they need loans in order to do anything in life. It says most of the pawning or selling gold for loans are from farmers and small business owners, right? It's not a very good sign because the bank's going to have their gold, and once they default on the loan, the bank's going to have their farm or their business too, and the bank's going to have everything. Well, when I say bank, actually most of these organizations aren't banks. They're non-bank financial companies. All right, so that's it. Basically, buy gold and don't get addicted to credit so that you're in a position where you're going to be giving up one of your most valuable assets if you need a loan in the future. That's all.